So I'm going to do, there's a positive attitude, a few vids tonight. We'll see how that goes. So a mother was left gobsmacked after discovering a stranger had pitched a tent in her front garden overnight and was munching a family-sized strawberry gateau inside. So Erica White was left in disbelief when her son spotted the makeshift home. Think about this, her son. The makeshift home on the lawn of her end of terrace home at 6:35 a.m. Now, the 38-year-old from Dartford, Kent, confronted the trespasser and claimed he ignored her polite request to move out of her front garden. Here is where we are, and so much more to come. Be assured of this. So the cheeky camper, the propaganda on steroids to diffuse what should alarm most people, yeah? The paper is giving you the cheeky camper. It's like this, something out the Fast Show, a character, lovable scamp. The cheeky camper finally decided to leave after the fuming finance analyst, because, hey, that makes a difference. I'd have just kept to the detail, yeah? Threatened to call the police if he continued to refuse. So baffled Erica, who lives with her 7-year-old daughter and sons 14 and 8, said it was the absolute audacity of it. It's so brazen. And who could disagree with her? And funnily enough, she found that English wasn't the individual's first language. Yeah? Because I do mention now and again, you keep hearing this thing called duty of care. Well, what happened to duty of care to the native people of which you're leeching off constantly in the form of direct and indirect taxation and telling them constantly and moving goalposts about how they must live? And remember, good car one year, bad car next year. And look at the costs involved of humouring this ideology based on certainly nothing to do with science, because science is something you can discuss. Yes, and question. That's the whole purpose about science. But no, now you hear the science is settled in so many ways. Yeah? I know I'm off at tangents, but am I really? Seriously. Now you could say it's a pretty tasteless lawn. I've never been a fan of the AstroTurf shenanigans, and it's not good for you. But even on the assumption of, well, it's low maintenance, but it seems to be a magnet for, tents. Seriously. Honestly. Is it going to be that it has to have lots of tents in people's gardens for people to start saying, I'm guessing strongly that that's not going to happen pre-election. But here's a taste of things to come, I would argue. And on that aspect, one should reflect on one's choices, yeah? Get emotion out the equation here. Look at the data, yeah? Labour is certainly not offering you a greater future. Far from it. In fact, didn't they say they'd roll back what was it, for cars 2035 to 2030, etc., even although it's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt these electric cars are an absolute liability from start to finish and a financial black hole, pretty much each and every one. And the cost of replacing, we're off at so many tangents here. And imagine the naivety of an individual who feels that they're doing the right thing by putting on one of these Ring doorbells, which I've discussed in the past is tied into the police network, and the police network's through apparently the Amazon network. Seriously. The data that is being shared for various agendas is astounding. Yeah. But, another complex subject, but nobody should be having to be putting up with this based on what we keep hearing is an international obligation. What? That is destroying our very ways of life. It's costing us more by the day. I remember reading, a story in the last day or two about, 400,000 people in England and Wales under the NHS wait more than 24 hours in A&E. Yeah, and it was like something like 40 or 50,000 people wait more than 48 hours. Yeah? and it was something like 17,000 had to wait more than 3 days. And it gave examples of elderly stroke victims having to wait in A&E for over a day. Yeah, seriously. So anyway, let's go to best rated. So have a couple women, apparently neighbours, who proceeded to have a picnic on my front lawn. I turned on the sprinklers. You have to get rid of squatters immediately. He was loitering with intent. Yeah, but remember, keep in mind this open web software AI. What gets through, and what really should be up there is best rated. That wouldn't get through. Dear God, they're moving in while you're at work next and claiming squatters' rights. The sheer entitlement and cheek here is shocking. Keep your doors locked, folks. It's only going to get worse. I cannot say this enough. There was a time, even in Scotland, by and large, at least through the 70s and into the 80s in many places, that one just didn't even bother locking the front door because one had confidence that life was good. We took it for granted. I will absolutely agree with you, because I'll tell you, if we had any idea, every day we'd have been bouncing out of bed thanking our lucky stars for existing in the 80s. I'm not saying, believe me, there was a lot of crap back then, massive, but nothing compared to where we are now. We Floridians have a new statute on July the 1st. It's a felony to camp, squat, or whatever because it's bumped up to criminal status. Now, you have heard recent stories, valid stories, provable stories of people being told to, because of activists, to squat in anybody's property, and it turns in an absolute nightmare to get rid of them. Unbelievable costs involved, and in many instances, they blackmail the property owners to pay them to leave. It's just, and there's been so much of that things are changing. So certainly in Florida, as an example, squatters are becoming more and more of a problem. Well, I keep going back to this AI moderation because remember, at some point, she literally says, Erica speculated, and it's fair, he could be a worker at a nearby fruit-picking farm as many commute along the road, and he did not speak English as a first language. But she apparently added he was presentable and didn't seem homeless. Well, I think the clue's the tent in your front garden, to be honest. Yeah. Anyway, your thoughts and subscribe. And I'll speak to you soon.